Posting broadcast video to public. Broadcast video is now live.
Okay, roll call. Samuelson.
Here.
Hooker.
Present.
Garner, present. I move to begin the show.
I second the motion.
All right, having a second, the motion carries. The show will begin.
Hearing no dissentence, we therefore pass the motion. Welcome to iVengers Radio. That was our little take on the EdTech Capital visit we did. Garner, myself, Lisa Johnson, who is not joining us today, we were able to attend the Capitol yesterday and some pretty interesting things. And Greg, believe it or not, is still working for Eanes, even though I think he was ready to stay at the Capitol. What were your thoughts, Greg, on the visit?
I really enjoyed it. I'm enough of a political junkie that I was the whole time looking around for, if I could run into Sam Seaborn or a Josh Lyman and just reenact the West Wing while I was there. I don't know, something. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Got to meet with some staffers. Got to meet with Representative Nashtat's chief of staff, and she's a former teacher, which I thought was really cool. That she taught high school literature and world history, and so we were able to talk about education from the perspective of people that have actually been in the classroom, which I thought was a really neat perspective to hear kind of her story along the way. So I had a blast. I thought it was a lot of fun. I know that maybe not everyone shares my excitement for that, but it was a lot of fun to be able to meet with the movers and shakers and the people that are actually making decisions about what policies are going to affect the rest of us lowly underling teachers.
Yeah, I for one was very nervous going into it. We were representing TCEA, not just our district, and so we had to really push for House Bill 5, which had actually already passed, but we were trying to make sure wording for that got into Senate Bill 3, and so I walked into the first couple meetings very robotic and kind of said, here, we would like the digital learning environment included in every phrasing so that way it would be evaluated. And by the second person, I finally started to loosen up a little bit, and it helped that I used to teach her sister the underling. I always call them underlings. What are they called, Greg? The staffers. Thank you. There's a bunch of staffers running around.
They like to be called serfs.
Serfs, yeah. There's a bunch of them running around.
Surf's up.
Oh, Lisa's going to join us in a few minutes, so that's great. So yeah, it was interesting. Lisa and I actually partnered up and went on a lot of the visits, so we kind of overwhelmed them. The last one we ran into was Workman's group. Paul Workman and his staffer actually listened to us for 15 minutes, although arms folded and not very open to the ideas. But I did ask him flatly, do you support technology and education? And he did. He had graduated in 2008. I shared the story at TechSig this morning. And he said in 2008, at his high school, they had mainframe computers in every classroom. And I don't think he knew what a mainframe computer was, but at any rate.
He was trying.
He was trying to be very technical. He did say that that Rep. Workman has an Android tablet and an iPad. And I thought, well, that's interesting that he's got both.
Did he say he had seen the movie Tron and that qualified him? In War Game.
With this kid.
The Whopper.
Yeah, that was it. That's what the image I got in my head when he said mainframe computer. I was like, "Do you have a Whopper in your high school, man? That's cool." No way. So.
And as a preview to the show, upcoming bit in the show, when we play Guess It or Google It, Greg will have to Google what you're talking about.
That's right. That predates Greg. In fact, I made sure that some of the Guess It or Google It stuff on today's show will be before Greg's time on purpose, so he may have to.
Hey, it was last time, and I still beat Lisa.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
Everybody beats Lisa.
Oh, she's not even here to defend herself.
That's why it's so perfect. That's why it's so perfect to say that.
I'm hoping
she'd be like, hey.
Because I actually made that bit. I changed the trivia game.
Hey now.
Right. That's what she says. Hey now.
There you go. That's right, with the finger usually.
John said that's what she says, and it was actually in reference to what she says. That's impressive, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh.
Sorry, tweeting and at the same time making sure people know that we're live. Okay. So I guess the other thing, the big takeaway for me, it was also cool that I thought we got recognized on the House and Senate floor, although I was a little disappointed that they didn't say, here's a big deal in the audience with us or anything like that. But you can't have everything.
Yeah, you can't win them all.
We'll try one of these days.
He's going for Senate Resolution 43 and the next biennium, and it'll be that we can get
37.
May 17th. It will be Big Deal Day.
Yes, my birthday. Yay. So, yeah, I thought it was interesting. The one thing and Greg's probably he's a lot more politically inclined than I am, but I was kind of wondering how anything ever gets done there, because really it's just people standing around talking, and then every so often a guy will get on the microphone and say, okay, does anyone have an objection? And you kind of see people paying attention, and the gavel just kept banging and banging, and yeah, anyway.
It sounds like one of our meetings.
Ooh, that's a good
Ouch.
point. I need a bangle. I guess I should say that.
Well, I'll give a shout out for Big Purple Hat, Christy Vincent, who.
Oh, that wasn't the joke?
No.
Oh.
So when we were in the House, they were working on House Bill 1, which was the budget, the big $193.8 billion budget.
Right.
So they're working on that. It's a beehive. And all kinds of activity and things going on. And Christy Vincent actually did tweet out something that I thought was insightful. And she said that she wondered what engagement would look like within the House floor. And so we actually had a conversation about, imagine if our classrooms looked like this, where everybody's just having their own conversations, they all have their own things that they're working on, and then yes, there is someone up at the front and they have an agenda that they're working towards, and they are all independently working together, but to the casual observer, you have no idea what you're looking at. You know, if you don't really know what to look for and what to observe and how to evaluate success, it could just look like chaos. And yet they passed the budget about 4 hours earlier than they had originally thought they were going to pass the budget. I mean, they were able to work through almost 270 amendments and get them pared down to the ones that they wanted to keep. I mean, so clearly they were getting things done. They were able to work through these things. There were some bipartisan efforts, which in Texas is, I think, doubly impressive that anything bipartisan ever happens.
I agree.
And then, you know, to also compare how much got done with just the apparent disorganization of the floor. And so porting that over to classrooms, you know, think about that if you're looking at a classroom, is what kind of trained eye would you need to be able to evaluate accurately how much is actually getting done in the classroom? Do you have your students working independently or cooperatively with other students? If someone just walked in off the street, would your room look like chaos? Or would it look like the teacher's in the front of the room and we've got rows and columns and every kid's all working on the same worksheet? Well, one may or may not be more productive than the other, but I can tell you what real life looks like. I can tell you what the house floor looks like, and they did get things done. They are working and getting things done. And sometimes it may not be at the pace we want, and it may not even be the things we want, but that's also true of our students. We don't always get the results we expect from them. So there was just a lot of corollaries there, which I thought was interesting to see the ways that we can bring this back to real life as well.
I thought, it was interesting because the desks and rows things, I tweeted a picture out about that yesterday, and I thought, you know, it was more of a suggestion, though, because they weren't really, Greg's right, they weren't really sitting in their desks. They were all moving in small groups, talking, and I was like, it's a collaborative classroom right in front of our eyes. And on a tech side, I did notice that there was a lot of kind of older laptops on all the desks, but all the staffers were actually using MacBooks and iPads all around the edges. It was kind of interesting the way just the technology broke down. So you had kind of the old school, kind of clunky laptop in the middle, and then you had all the slick MacBooks and iPads out around the ends. So,
and they were all at least 1-to-1. Most of them were, you know, 2 or 3-to-1. You know, yep. Where they've all got smartphones. Several of them had iPads or some form of tablet, and then all of them have laptops. And so we're seeing the same things that we're asking for in our classrooms as we're there on behalf of our students, on behalf of our teachers, asking for increased technology in the classroom and the opportunities to make that happen, and just pathways to be opened up to make that happen. It was a really natural bridge in our conversations to be able to say, you're already there. What you have for yourself is what we're asking for our kids.
Yep, It's like look instead of looking through the window, look at the mirror. What do you have that you would would you short your kids this? But it's interesting. I mean, I think the battle still wages on. I don't know. I talked to a guy yesterday who said that his district is making him go to talk to the legislature because they are actually thinking about moving all technology out of the classroom and leaving it for after school programs. They think that that's what it should be used for. And I thought, wow, that's a giant leap backwards. So
that's frustrating.
But sorry you couldn't make it, John. But hopefully you got to get a little bit of a view for it. I think next year I'm definitely excited about going in 2 years. When it comes back around, I want to be more involved. I know by the end of the day, I think we were kind of clicking on all cylinders. We probably saw maybe there's about 40 of us there, so we probably saw about 80 or 90 reps and senators, or at least their staffers / underlings or orderlies, whatever you call them,
serfs.
But and the other thing, I guess speaking of progress, the one thing that I thought was really exciting this week, I got to attend and actually be a part of TEDx Youth. I don't know if you guys got to see the live feed at all, which was a whole nother situation. We couldn't get the live stream to work all the way, but it was a great event. It was actually here at Westlake, and the kids that put it on, it was all organized by 17-year-olds. And when you have something organized by 17-year-olds, sometimes things work great and sometimes they're not. But I'll tell you, the creativity was flowing, and it ended up being just an amazing event. I definitely took a lot of ideas away from it for our own event, iPad Palooza, which sold out yesterday. John, I don't know if you knew that.
Whoa, really?
Yep. Sold out! So put your Ludacris song here. And so I think that's for post-edit.
Is Ludacris, is he taking over for Blue October? And he can do that. He can just do sold out. Just change a consonant for us, and
we can vote right now. But Lisa's not present, so I don't know.
I'm good with that.
She did.
Blue October does have that one really good song.
They had a couple. She requested 2 last night on the TechSig boat cruise, so we got to hear a couple of them, along with some other interesting things that I'm sure are going to be captured on the internet somewhere. You missed that event too, John. That was a classic one, but we will not go over that on the air because what happens on the TechSig boat cruise stays out on the water, or however that goes. So, anyway, I thought the one cool thing I'll share is this was one of the TEDx Austin events. They had a speaker. His name was Zhao Zheng, and he actually did a talk at TEDx Austin about being fearless, and this was limitless was the theme, and he talked about failure and rejection, and it was cool because he talked about he had his own company, or he didn't have his own company. He was going to try a startup company, and he asked his wife, he's like, what do you think? Should I quit this regular job? We have a kid on the way. What should I do? And she said, give yourself 6 months. Go ahead and quit your work in your job for whoever was working for Dell or just some local software company here in Austin. And she talked him into it. Said, you need to quit for 6 months. Try a startup. Start it on your own, and get out there and see what happens, because you'll never know unless you try it. And so he quit his job. 2 days later, they have their first child, which is very brave. So they're all unemployed with a new kid, and he goes out and has a startup. He gets going, gets about 4 months into it, gets people coming and working on investors, and his big investor sends him a message that basically says, no, flat out, sorry, we're not going to be able to support you. So the whole thing falls apart. He wants to quit, and she says to him, she goes, you still have 2 more months, so don't quit yet. And so he can't get over the rejection and starts to, he finds a guy in Canada, and I can't remember the name of the guy, but he does something called rejection therapy. It's not Dean Tresky. He's one of 3 guys in Canada. I think the other 2 work at a brewery, right?
Darren.
Moose Jaw.
Let's see. Who else do we know in Canada that could
Derek
possibly be in this story?
George Couros.
Oh, yeah. The Couros.
Yeah.
Al Couros.
So it wasn't those 4 people, but it was maybe the 5th man that lives in Canada. And he.
Do they have a basketball team now?
They do now. I think they could start one.
Karpat was the 5th.
There we go. See, an online basketball team. So anyway, so he gets this guy, and he's doing something called rejection therapy. Yeah, and he starts going to these different businesses and people, and the goal is every day he has to get rejected. And so he just asks people random things. He goes to like PetSmart, and he says, "I want you to cut my hair like a labradoodle." And he goes to all these random things, and people just start saying, no, of course not. But then he starts getting a lot of yeses, which is really cool. Like he got on a plane, and he said, hey, why don't you let me do this? And he's got a really bad kind of English accent, so it's kind of cute the way he says it. Because he's from Japan originally, and he goes, why don't you let me do the security announcement since no one ever listens to you anyway? And they're like, yeah, you know what, whatever, go ahead, do it. And he asks like a guy, he goes, can I play soccer in your backyard, just some random person? And the guy's like, yeah, sure, come on. And so he starts getting all these yeses, and the final one was he goes to Krispy Kreme here in town and asks them to do the Olympic rings in donuts. And he videotapes the whole thing and ends up going on YouTube. He's got like 5 million hits on it now, but Yes, and the lady says, "Yeah, sure, I'll see what I can do." And so he's shocked that she says yes, and she goes and researches it, finds the colors, actually, makes the icing handmade, and matches it up perfectly. And when she comes out to give it to him, he says, "Well, how much do I owe you?" And she says, "You know what? It's on the house." And he was just blown away by it. And so he starts telling other people the story. The video goes viral, and now he's essentially speaking on the fact that he's been rejected in this rejection therapy idea. So it's cool. It's a cool success story. So all about taking risks. I think it was his first talk is what got me to do the no email thing, even though I only did it for 19 days or 20 days. But oh well. And
joining us now is the fabulous Lisa Johnson, who will have to go back and listen to the first few minutes of the show so she can find all the different ways that Sammy and I have bashed on her.
And she's not. Anyway, her mic
and
is
her microphone.
Oh.
Oh, so bad.
actually leads into the next one really well, but I'll wait for her to get on here.
Is that better?
Oh yeah. Ooh, it's loud.
That's a little better.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's better. Softer. Can you type on your keyboards a little bit?
Oh no.
Stop.
Oh my gosh. Well, we were rolling.
We were, Lisa, we're on point 3, by the way, of the group. So we talked about EdTech Day and talked a little bit about TEDx Youth. Is there anything that you want to add about the EdTech Day yesterday? We kind of talked about some of the visits we did, and of course you missed all of it, so you don't know what we've already said. But just give us your 2 cent takeaway for it. What was your thought?
It was good. It was a good, kind of, I mean, obviously visiting the Capitol, being a teacher and that you kind of get the historical sort of feel and like where you're actually, there when you see the Senate, when you see the House of Rep, because you hear all these things on the news and, this is us being able to truly make a difference, not just saying, hey, I really want this to change. We're actually being able to meet with people. And, many of them were very kind to give us, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and sit down with us and actually hear what we had to say. So that was very kind of them. And I really hope that things will go our way.
We were very excited. I think today we had a very interesting meeting that Greg will tell you about in a little bit. It's day 2 of TechSig that you guys got to miss out on, but
Point
it leads
3.
it leads us into our next topic, which is what is the biggest. I heard a TED talk the other day. It was actually, I listened to a TED podcast, and one of the things they talked about was failures and mistakes. And that guy that did the TEDx Youth event made me think about that. So if you had to think about what was the biggest mistake you ever made, this goes to the whole group. Why are you laughing already, Lisa? There's a long list probably. But think about one giant.
Thank you.
Her biggest mistake she's ever made was agreeing to work with us.
Oh. That's positive now.
I'll make some Post-it notes. All right.
Okay. Wow, she's working on the list. So, John, do you want to jump in?
She'll make a pop of that.
Listly?
Yeah.
Hush now. I did make a Listly yesterday.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I have so many failures that there's way too numerous, ones to count. Gosh, I can't even begin. It just leads me to the story of talk about a failure was when I had one on Saturday when we went to an Easter egg hunt and then I watched my daughter get bludgeoned with a baseball bat.
What?
And I was fine in the moment and I saw her head and it was really bad. And
What?
I brought her over.
I'm sorry, that's not funny, but
yeah, that's okay.
it as
This
being
is
bludgeoned.
just everybody know this is what I put up with. And
It's not funny, John. I feel your pain. I'm sorry.
So
he didn't have pain. She did.
Oh, he did have pain. Late for the rest of the story.
Yeah, you're
Underscore.
not my story, Greg. So
Honestly.
so anyway, so then I went into the car, and luckily my wife was driving, but I felt like I was going to faint, and I haven't fainted. I'm a big fainter, but I haven't fainted for about 8 years, and so I kind of said I looked at her and said I'm going to faint, and then the next thing I know, I'm trying to peel myself into consciousness. If you've ever fainted before, and I don't know where I am. I'm over on the side. She's on the emergency, the phone calling 911. I'm like, don't call 911. It'll cost money. I faint all the time, and then I fainted again. And so then I remember the paramedics coming, and it was just a big white light. But I think one of the biggest fails was
don't go towards the light.
The time, right? I mean, it is kind of close to what I think death would be like when you faint, because you're kind of this weird. So you kind of have these weird visions and dreams and things. But it was like when they told me when Gwen was 8 years old, they said, you're going to have to get a blood test because I didn't know my blood. My parents, of course, know nothing about me and didn't know my blood type. I'm like, I think I'm some kind of rare blood type. I'm negative, but so is Marnie. Well, so they had to pull my blood, and I was like, I'm going to faint if you pull my blood. And I'm in the, the maternity
pull
doctor
your blood.
room.
I love the thought of that.
And so, right, so this lady comes in and she goes, well, I've done this to Harold, don't worry. And she's like zipping the needle out, zippity doo dah. I can find a vein anywhere. And, and I'm like, lady, you don't need to talk to me. I'm about to faint if you don't just shut up and take the blood and be quiet. So she goes in.
You have the presence of mind in the midst of blacking out, that you have the presence of mind to say, I'm going to faint.
No, she's telling me.
Make this declarative statement.
I'm surprised you didn't say something about Arnie Duncan on the way out, too.
I was positive I was going to faint, and so that was the last time I'd fainted before, when Gwen was, not even born, and they took my blood, and then I passed out cold, and I remembered them looking at me, and they were all rushing around afterwards. I'm like, I'm waking up in a doctor's office, and all these ladies are rushing around, and so then it kind of freaked me out, and then I fainted again. And my wife was like, she didn't know me at that point that I was a big fainter, but yeah, so the fainting isn't really the big win. I kept telling them, I'm negative, just trust me, but they wouldn't trust me. They had to have like the proof. So I'm glad they got their stupid proof. But those are my two ones, and so fainting, that's a pretty big fail for me after at an Easter egg hunt failing.
How many times did you actually faint? Was it 2, 3? I lost count as you were telling the story.
I've been double fainting each of the last 2 times now. So it's been a double faint 8 years ago, and it was a double faint this time.
That sounds like a basketball move, a double feint.
It's a secret superpower, maybe. Yeah, it's a double
know.
feint away.
Well, the funny thing was, we were just playing the basketball game. I totally hit a double feint, and I banked it off the backboard.
Called your shot. Okay,
I didn't call that one, though. I just kind of went like this afterwards and was like, oh, Arnie Duncan's got nothing on me.
Swish, of course.
So that's my most recent failure.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Lisa, how about you? How do you follow that one up?
Jeez. Well, I was actually, as a child, hit with a croquet mallet, but accidentally, not on purpose. But
that explains a lot.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I was kind of thinking back to different things. I started out college thinking I was going to go into pre-med, and took chemistry and all of these things, realizing about a year or so in that wasn't the case. But all of these things that I feel like could have been considered mistakes, they always end up leaning to learning or opportunities or things like that. So I don't really classify them as mistakes. They're things that have kind of led me to the path that I'm on now. I don't think it's a mistake I took this job. It is a mistake that perhaps I left all 3 of you alone for 10 minutes without me on air. But
that goes without saying.
That was a big mistake. Yeah.
We all agree. Well, I don't. Greg, when have you passed out? Or I mean, when have you had a mistake? Fainted.
Well,
when have
actually,
you fainted?
I'll say that I both passed out and made a mistake by going to a 3-hour project share meeting this morning.
Oh.
And that's when the lady that was going to do this meeting said, I need you to all log into project share. That was the same reaction the whole group had. There's probably, 30, 40 people in there, and everyone at the same time went, oh. And at that point, I turned to Carl. Carl says, do you need your login? I said, yeah, I do. So he had to make me a login, and he gave me the password. No, I didn't. And so he gave me the password iHeartProjectShare. I'm sharing that out because you're welcome to
share.
Go in there and mess with my
What's your login name?
Project Share account. Yeah, have fun with that. It's Techlandia, and password is iHeartProjectShare. So have fun with that. So, but in all seriousness, probably my biggest fail that, like Lisa, led to learning was my second year teaching. I was teaching an 8th grade technology applications class, and I decided that I wanted them to make a movie. So they had to write a script, they had to do storyboarding, they had to get props and practice, and then we were going to go video. And so we did all of this. I mean, it's all lesson planned out, and I've got my teaks and everything. So I've got all my standards, and it's a solid lesson. I'm pretty excited about it. They all, I mean, they write their scripts. I read through the scripts. The scripts are good. The storyboards are good. Everything's good. And it's this group of kids that are like the best and brightest in their class. I mean, they're all going to be fine in life. They're all going to nice four-year institutions, I'm sure. I mean, they're going to be doctors, whatever they want to do. I don't know. Needless to say, we get to the recording portion, and I didn't think through as a second-year teacher that it would be a bad thing for 8th grade boys to be running around campus with toy guns.
Uh-oh.
And I kind of ended up in a meeting with the director of secondary education and my campus principal, basically pleading for my job, and the boys basically pleading to not be expelled, and me saying, if this was on me, not on them, and I was sorry, and that was not fun. So that's made me a lot more cautious, a lot more careful. It's caused me to ask more questions, to try to think about more of the unintended consequences. I think it's one of the reasons why I've kind of become a political junkie, because now I want to start thinking about all the unintended consequences. And I don't know. I mean, it was a really rough time for me, but I think it has yielded some interesting fruit in that now I try to think through more about what I'm going to do or what I'm going to have students do before I just send them loose with toy machine guns around campus.
I think really
machine guns. I was picturing very small water guns. Now it's taken it to a whole other level.
Yeah, we went from machine guns. Yeah, okay. I thought, Greg, your age at 12 and a half, 13, that you wouldn't have had any real mistakes at this point in life. But that's a good one. That's actually a good bad one. But I'm glad you made it through that. That could have been a career killer in some ways too. So
that's one of the things I was really afraid of, because that's one of the. I mean, think about, why did you leave your last job? Well, students were running around campus with guns, and I sanctioned that. So that could have really been a bad thing.
I still say you're ahead of your time, because now it's East Texas, so all the teachers carry guns anyway. So I think you were just ahead of the curve, basically, because now everybody has guns in East Texas, right at the schools. All the teachers are packing.
There is a school up there, a school district up there that has now approved concealed carry for teachers. I think it's the first in the state. I don't remember, but yeah, I apparently was just ahead of my time. But then again, these guns were not concealed. They were very
right. That's probably the difference. Concealed.
I talked to, it was Debbie Dodds from Alpine, who I talked to yesterday or 2 days ago, and she said that she carries her gun on campus. And she's one of, there's actually all the administrators can have guns, and at least 3 other teachers are now able to carry guns on her campus. And so she packs heat, apparently. Which, for those of you that know Debbie, that's kind of scary, but but I thought, I just heard stories, but to actually hear someone tell me, it was Wednesday night, she was telling us, that's, I've certified and everything, and I'm allowed to carry it on campus with me. I was like, wow, that's the reality, folks. So I guess my fail, I had a whole different one that I was going to share, but now that you guys have started talking about blacking out, I'll tell you about the time I blacked out in Mexico. And ended up with 13 stitches on this eyebrow, for those of you that can see online.
Oh, I thought you just spent time in jail, and so you got the slashes.
And I wish I had a really good story for this, but it was really just bad decisions on my part. I had just met my wife. We went to on a cruise with my parents, which, by the way, if you ever want to really get to know someone good, take them on a cruise ship with a very tiny room with your parents in the same room. Very, very uncomfortable, but she survived. Anyway, so I had bronchitis on this cruise ship, and I want to hide it because I don't want her to think, have a bad time thinking I'm sick. So I was kind of covering it up with medication. And we get about, it's July 4th, we're in Cozumel, and I am super dehydrated. We went snorkeling that day, which, of course, when I dive, my ears are exploding, but I'm trying to hide the fact that I'm sick. We had a couple of, let's say, drinks that were in coconuts, and I'm walking around.
Is it coconut milk?
It was coconut milk. That was probably it, which is also a natural. It's a diuretic. So we got very good. So we're walking around. I'm carrying all their shopping stuff. My mom, her, and I see this tattoo parlor, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna go get one of those, henna tattoos, like a real cheesy one, like the barbed wire across the arm. Can't believe I'm telling you all this story. Anyway,
like Pam Anderson.
Oh, exactly. I thought, that would be hot. This is 2001. It was still sort of trendy. And so
ask Lisa about that.
Yeah, tattoo story. But I'm sitting on this stool getting the tattoo, and I look and I start seeing kind of like stars, and everything starts going black. And I look at my mom who's walking by, and I tell her, I think I'm about to pass out. And she says what she hears is, and I just fall right off the stool and crack my head on the Saltillo tile in this supermarket, this little supermarket store. And I'm out.
Supermercado?
Yeah, it's La Feria. La Pulga de San Jose, I think is what it was called. But I wake up about what seems like hours later. It was only about a minute. And my wife said I was flopping on the ground. I'd had heat stroke, and there's blood everywhere. I wake up and I thought I was shot. I mean, I was literally like, who got shot? Someone's like, it's you. And I was like, I got shot? This lady's going, do you know who you are? And I was like, yes, I'm Evander Holyfield. I just got knocked out in the second round. And my wife's like, he's okay. Get him up. So
he does this all the time.
I know. It's a party trick. I hear the ambulance coming and the boat's about to leave port. And I'm like, I do not want to be in a Mexican hospital for this trip. So they literally picked me up. My mom and soon-to-be wife picked me up and dragged me back to the ship. And apparently the ships have pretty good doctors. They're Scandinavian. It was a Norwegian cruise line. Imagine that. And he starts asking me, he's like, do you want stitches? And I was like, I don't think I need stitches. He goes, have you seen your injury yet? And I look in a mirror and I can see my skull actually poking through right above my eyebrow. And I go, oh, yeah, you might want to fix that up. So sure enough, they put stitches in it. And it turns out I found this out the next day. The principal of the building that I worked at was on the ship with me, and I didn't know it. And she was not a fan of me. So she sees me walking around with this giant black eye and stitches. And she's like, what did you do this time, hooker? I'm like, oh, no. I'm going to get fired when I'm done with this trip. But anyway, that was a mistake.
You didn't even have the kids didn't even bring guns for that. That was just your own. There.
I know. So hydrate yourself, folks. That's the lesson there for big mistakes. But yeah. I don't know.
Oh wow. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to take down the fainting story. That was just was in my mind. I felt bad. I felt bad for my wife. Well, I'm such a wimp.
After watching that Louisville player on Sunday, I started thinking that reminded me of that moment where you could see actually your bone through your skin. Of course, his bone was just sticking right out of his leg, but yeah. Anyway,
the poor kid. So, by the way, are you going to root on Louisville? Huh? Right? Everybody has to root on Louisville for Mr. Hooker.
That's right. Win the bracket. John could have had it with Duke. I didn't realize it was that. Now I have to. If they go all the way, I get second place in my little challenge. Uh-oh. Can you mute your mic? Whoever that is. I heard an announcement. We'll cut that out.
That's Greg.
Okay. So while Greg's on mute, I'll explain our next group, which is called. Pause here for insert sound effect. Guess it or Google it. It's a new take on a trivia game. This is actually for Lisa, who last time complained that she did not know the answer to any trivia questions. So everybody is going to have a shot. And the way, there you go. Got your phone ready. So the way this will work is if you want to guess it, you put your hands up so I can see you guys on the screen. You're not Googling anything. You'll have to tell me before I actually ask the question what you're doing, which method you're going. Okay, and if you want to Google it, of course you can, which Lisa's already opting to probably do. We'll have to see how fast you can go. What I'll do is I'll ask the question, and I'll give about 10 seconds for you to Google it or guess it, and then we'll have to have a response. I guess someone wave for their response. I'll touch your nose or your glasses. That's Greg's move.
These are my Google glasses. So.
Ooh, fancy.
That would be awesome if they were.
I'm guessing.
Okay, first category. Are we ready? Lisa, ready?
Sure, I'm ready. Okay.
First category is music. Who's Googling it? Who's guessing?
I'm guessing.
Is that it? We just get just a category. We don't get any other specifics.
I'll give you a hint. It's in the 1980s music. How about that?
Oh, I'm totally guessing.
Google.
Lisa's Googling. Okay. So I'm going to ask the question, and then I'll give you about, we'll do 5-10 seconds, whatever, until everyone's kind of got an answer, and then we'll see. All right, so in 1988, Martika made a hit song that was redone later by Eminem. Who knows the name of the song?
Oh. I know it already.
John already knows it. John sent Greg's no. Lisa,
Okay, I got it.
you got it? All right. So John got it in about 2 seconds. Greg in about 6. Lisa, I think, fell asleep. No.
I'm not asleep.
She passed.
I'm-
fainted.
Well, I was the only one who didn't have a fainting story, so
That's true. She's doing
I didn't
it now.
have a fainting story.
Oh yeah, it was just kind of a.
He just almost fainted when he lost his job.
I would have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have it though.
John, since you said guess, why don't you go first?
It's Toy Soldiers.
Yep.
Google it. Correct. Ding. And you guys are all nodding, so I guess there's no way of me checking to see if you guys would have got it right too. But I'm going to assume your Google skills were good.
Well, you can just have John answer since he's going to probably guess all of these, and
we'll just verify.
That's right. I'm not
say
Googling
whether he's
anything.
right or not.
All right, sports. Also in the 80s. Sorry, Greg. This is probably on purpose.
Well, that category is that wouldn't do me any good anyway. So
Michael
that's
Jeffrey Jordan.
fine.
February 17th, 1963,
Okay,
Brooklyn, New York.
I was going to say, if this has anything to do with basketball, then I'm out. Just forget it.
Oh, it was going to
Any
be
decade.
basketball of any decade. Okay, I'll have to think of. Okay, here's one for you.
Are you just coming up with this off the top of your head? I thought you wrote these down somewhere.
I did write it down, but I'm going to change it so it's not just about basketball.
Did we skip the sports one?
No, this is
you didn't.
sports.
Okay.
This is sports.
I want you to name 2 athletes that played multiple sports.
Oh, that's easy. Got it.
This,
Hold on, I've got students that just came in. Hold on 1 second.
mute. All right, so it's Lisa versus John on this part. Lisa,
Wait,
if you guys could-
I'm
multiple
done.
sports in it, just period?
professional sports, multiple professional sports. Name 2 athletes, and you guys can both name 2. There's tons of them out there. There's
Okay.
2 really that are sticking in my mind, but there's
Yeah,
lots
the
of other
two,
ones.
I just got the easy 2, I guess. Oh, no, I got, let's see. I got one more. I got 3.
So, Lisa, do you have any? Are you Googling still?
I'm still Googling.
So kids, I guess what this is an example of at home is that when you Google things, it does take a little bit longer. So even though we say to all
It
the time,
does.
you can Google it. We don't need to teach them all these facts. Sometimes it's handy to have, well, in this case, trivial facts in the back of your mind.
That was weird.
I'm the king of trivial facts.
That's where.
Okay, ready? Can I
Go ahead. Give me 2, John.
I'll give you 3. Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, and Brian Jordan.
Ooh, very good. Brian Jordan, safety for the Atlanta Falcons, and baseball player for the Braves.
For the Braves.
Lisa, Greg, any Google guesses other than those 3?
I was away from my computer.
Okay.
I just got 3 boxes of thesauri. Is that the plural? Thesauruses? Thesauri? 3 boxes of them delivered to my room. Just great. So, no, I have no
That's
answer.
good. They make a great gift for any occasion, really.
They do. I think for the next challenge, we're going to have
It
guess
helps you to find a different word other than mad, sad, glad, bad,
Awesome.
rad.
synonyms. Yes. I think what we could do is the next challenge. It'll be one of you will guess it, one of you will Google it, and the other one will use an encyclopedia, and we'll see how fast it goes.
I'll have to use the encyclopedia. I'm probably the most trained on that one.
Yeah, you and I can use
They
that
used
one.
to teach encyclopedia skills when I was in school.
How about one of us uses Wikipedia and one of us uses Microsoft Encarta?
All right, one of our viewers online is actually complaining that this contest is rigged, and it is Marnie Moose.
Yeah, it's I-rigged.
So no guesses.
Well,
Lisa?
Why does she get
Multiple
mad when I win anything? You know, she just saw me have seizures in the car, or fainting spells, and now I'm actually doing something well and winning a contest, and now she's blowing me static. Gosh, that's not very supportive.
I know comment.
I know. Gosh, you know what? I'm gonna go to a hotel tonight in Houston and just leave my whole family.
Okay. All right, Lisa. So
But I
no
was gonna
guesses.
do that
We're gonna
anyway.
we're gonna skip the rest of that category, I guess. I would have also accepted Jeremy Bloom, who played 2 sports. Does anyone know what 2 sports Jeremy Bloom played?
Oh, okay, right. He played football and track.
Football and skiing. Actually, would have been really
Cross country skiing. Okay.
All right, we're gonna speed this up because we're getting kind of long on this. All right, movies. The category is movies.
I'll guess this
Okay.
one.
I'm guessing.
I think Garner, you have a good shot at this one.
Just-
Lisa, I think you do too. Actually,
Was it from 2005 or newer?
it was before 2005. We're sticking in my favorite decade here, but I think you still know it. Okay, so What 1984 movie did John Cusack land a role in with his sister Joan?
Oh, got it.
Okay, so John's the only one again. Lisa, any guess? Or are you Googling? She's on IMDb.
Can there be more than one, or are you talking about just the 1984 one?
Just the 1984 one. Yeah, there
Well,
are
they
more.
have been in multiple. Oh,
Got it. I'll say 16 Candles.
Lisa, you have a guess?
16 cans.
Greg?
Since John went first and said 16 candles,
Yeah.
I guess I'll just say what he said.
Okay, that's what he said. Okay.
I have no idea.
It is 16 Candles. Have you not seen 16 Candles?
No.
You're like, you could be in that movie.
If it was made now.
He could
Really
be,
could be.
the remake, the Anthony Michael
remake.
Hall character.
It could be 16 Candles, yeah, and the Anthony Michael Hall could probably still be in it.
It
although
doesn't
he
make
looks-
any sense to me at all.
All right. I don't know about Molly Ringwald, but yeah, her flame is still going, wouldn't you say? Yeah, she could still do it. All right.
Oh,
Well,
wow. Sammy, you just got called out that you didn't even name your boy the two, one person for two sports, Michael Jordan.
oh yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
wow.
That's
Yeah, you're right, I did.
basketball and baseball. Now, I wouldn't really say that he played baseball.
Ooh.
He kind of showed up in a baseball uniform for a while.
Yeah, I was
he
thinking-
swung
I was
a
thinking
wooden stick a
professional.
couple of times.
He just liked the
Yeah.
pants.
That was AAA. That counts.
That does
It was
count.
double- it was double A.
Technically, no, still he got paid. That's a professional.
The Birmingham Barons, I believe.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Well,
then he made Space Jam, and everything was just groovy after that.
Okay, I'm going to do two more. These are both music. I'm just going to do these quick. I'm kind of going off the cuff. So the first one is lyrics. So I'm going to read you the lyrics of a song, and you have to guess it. Ready?
Okay.
Don't you draw the Queen of Diamonds, boy. She'll beat
I
you.
got
if
this.
Go.
She'll beat you if she's able.
And the name of the song is?
Desperado by the Eagles.
Bingo.
Wow, that was way before Greg's time, too.
That
I'm a
was
huge
good.
Eagles fan.
You know the Queen of
You're an
Hearts is always your
Eagles
best bet.
booster?
The Eagles. Love the
All
Eagles.
right, so then Greg's bonus question is he has to name name 3 Eagles.
The
No.
actual people. Oh, we lost Lisa.
Yeah, the
The
people.
people?
Yeah,
I just know their music,
there's a bunch of them.
Google it.
Yeah, I know there's like 8 of them.
Glenn Fry, Don Henley, Joe Walsh.
John Henley is the only one I could have named.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay. I was trying to give you a bonus.
Now,
Okay, so the bonus question is a song from the 90s, so maybe Greg will get this one because he was actually around for this song. What, this will actually
yes, I
just
was in elementary school. Thank you.
be, okay. What's one-hit wonder song did the Crash Test Dummies make?
I don't know.
Test dummies.
Hmm.
No, I have no idea.
The
I'd have
song
to
is,
Google it.
John?
Mm.
Once there was this girl who... Isn't that how it goes? It's really
Yeah,
bad.
that is.
The song was actually titled...
When she put her head up. Oh, I don't know. I'm making that part up, but
I think it was actually titled So it was, 3 M's, 3 M's, 3
not
M's.
to be confused with Bop by Hanson.
Very good. Those girls were great. Oh no, there was guy. It was boy.
I love those girls.
Yeah. I think we got Lisa back on.
Yay.
So she missed the last question, but that's okay. She probably would. I don't know. Do you know the
That was
question?
right.
Lisa- no, she
you know what,
might have
the
known
last
that.
question was right in her
Lisa might have known
wheelhouse.
that.
Actually,
That really was.
Totally got that one.
Lisa, we're not going to tell you what the question was, but
But you
let's see
would've
if can
gotten it.
answer it. Is it what was the only hit song by the Crash Test Dummies?
Oh, is that song?
See, I knew.
Wow.
Very
Okay.
good. She did not.
That's
need-
right in Lisa's. See, I know Lisa. I know when she knows a question. That was right there.
Well, I'm going to cut a couple things because we're running a little bit long, but I do want to do a quick little segment here called the App Doctors In, and I don't know if any of you guys have ideas for this, but I was thinking what we could do is share, whenever you have a concept like a lesson or something that's kind of been failing on your campuses, or you just feel like, this is kind of boring, you've had a teacher come up to you and say, hey, is there a way you can kind of jazz this up? I wondered if any of you had a story you could share, and I know all of you do. Just kind of a quick story about something that you've done recently with some teachers, either middle school, elementary, that have kind of cleaned it up. So this is sort of an educational podcast, even though iTunes is having a hard time seeing that right now. So who would like to share something?
I can if nobody else wants to. I don't want to keep sharing stuff since I answered all the questions, but I can if you want me to.
Go ahead, start us, John.
Okay, so when we had some teachers the other day, first grade teachers were the first people to use get one-to-one iPads in our school. It was first and fourth grade, and they had some. They were doing their timeline projects, and so the kids would bring in pictures, but they were all doing it, and so they started to use Poplet, which was pretty cool. But then what we had them do afterwards, and Carl, you could go ahead and explain this one because you did the second part of this too. Do you remember when you came in and what they did then?
Yeah, so John set this up, and it was great because I actually got to sub a class. And, and one of the things I always say about administrators is we spend a lot of time in these offices and meetings. We don't actually get into the classroom. So John had me substitute for his first grade lesson. It was great. He had the Poplets printed out, which, of course, I'd rather they not be on paper, but sometimes you have to do that. And they had actually brainstormed their timeline, and we spent an hour and a half working on iMovie. So they shot they put all their photos in there. They did narration. They added a little bit of sound to it, and went out and recorded the narrations in the hallway, and it was great. So they ended up with a movie about themselves. So a pretty cool lesson from beginning to end. And I guess the teacher had done that in prior years, but maybe not used technology, or they'd gone to the lab and done it. And it had taken them several weeks.
Right. You know what they had used actually that I don't know if it's even in the lab anymore is that they used that Timeliner like 3.0 or whatever it was. You know what I'm talking about though, right? That's what they had used last year. Yeah. So we jazzed it up a lot for them.
Well, I can tell you, I know there's many lessons. I mean, it's hard to even talk about just one, but we have a health teacher, and the amazing stuff that they're able to do, you've got amazing content anyway. And there's one particular, I know they call it recipe rehab or, kind of do-over sort of scenario. But what it is the kids find a recipe that they really like eating on a regular basis, but it's not so healthy. And they go to the store, they research everything, they find healthy alternatives, they actually make it at home, and then they film the entire thing. So what was neat, and then they also actually bring in samples for the kids to taste and all of that. So she had said she had done it in PowerPoint in years previous, and this year the kids absolutely loved it. They used iMovie, they used Keynote, they were way engaged, and even on our student panel when we had our site visit, that was one of the questions we asked kids is what was your favorite iLesson or what was your favorite activity this year so far, and that one actually came up from a student. Now, what I would have loved to add on to this that we just didn't think of at the time is I would have loved to take all of the movies and recipes and put them into an iBook and send them out as like a Hill Country, healthy iRecipes or something like that. That would have been like the cherry on the top of that particular lesson. But no, it's great. And it's really neat to see the kids kind of in their element and using technology and feeling very comfortable with it to enhance instruction and learning.
That's a good one. Mr. Underscore, what about you?
Yeah, we had a sixth grade teacher that was working through types of government and civics and citizenship and just trying to just help students understand these kind of abstract topics. I mean, when you start talking about types of government, that can be pretty confusing if you start thinking, because you only know the type of government that you live within. You can kind of explain whatever it is that you know from your own experience, but then when you start trying to compare that to other types of government, you're like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? You can ask a lot of questions. And so what this teacher did was she had the students, this was before we were one-to-one, and so they had to go check out iPads, and then they looked up pictures that were related to a quote. And so they each had a quote. They went and looked at pictures that were related to that quote. They made a pic collage and basically just kind of a photo collage representing the particular quote. And then they did an audio recording of a statement that they had prepared that kind of was their reflections on that quote, as well as, and they shot just a video of themselves talking about types of government, what they thought about types of government, and they just kind of had all these different pieces that they then dropped into iMovie and turned it into a little 1-minute iMovie project that was kind of their representation of learning when you start looking at types of government, civics, and all the different topics that they were working through for that particular lesson. So it was really interesting to see. You know, we got to learn a lot along the way, but main thing was that these kids spent about 2 weeks going through all of this, which was about how much time she would normally spend on it. But they each got to create something meaningful to them. But then also we combined all their little 1-minute videos and made it into one big video file that then they played for the students as one of the last day before the holiday break back in the winter. And so that was it was a really neat tool for the students to not only learn about the process from themselves, but then when they watched the full video, they also got to learn from their classmates. And that was something that, you know, may not have been able to happen in a traditional classroom. And so by moving to something that was this digitally infused, technology infused learning environment, this digital learning environment, the students really had much higher engagement. They were using critical thinking skills to put all these pieces together. They had problem solving that they had to do because, you know, Murphy's Law rules the technology world, and so 900 things would go wrong, and so the students are trying to figure out how they can solve all of those along the way. So it was a great lesson. I had a great time doing it. I was very fortunate to be able to be a part of it and just to see what the kids were making, and the fact that it was all 6th graders that was the icing on the cake. That was just fantastic.
That is cool, and I think that kind of brings us back to what we talked about at the top of the show, which was, you know, kind of an idea of what people out there perceive as what's going on in the classrooms, and then actually seeing it and hearing these kind of stories. I think this is good. This is the kind of stuff we really need to see. Our legislators need to see, parents, teachers that are in other districts that don't really realize kind of what kind of you know, abilities the one-to-one can do, whether it be iPads or tablets or anything. I think that's a big part. Just having the technology available is a big part of it. So I think, thank you guys for sharing. Those are good stories and good ways to call in the app doctor whenever needed to heal a failing lesson or a sick lesson in this case. So we'll have to come up with a clever little tune for the app doctor. Maybe what's a good doctor show that it's on? I mean, thanks. I was like, there's some doctor shows out there, not Grey's Anatomy, if I could just say.
No, Doogie Howser.
Doogie Howser, there you go. I think he's on the show. There he is.
Dun, 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 dun,
dun, dun, dun, dun. What's that?
That's actually my Steam user name. So if any of you would like to add me on Steam, it's not Doogie.
It's not Doogie.
Not Doogie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to look you up.
Okay, I'll do that one.
I didn't even know what Steam was until just now. So
What?
I know I guess I know what STEAM is in terms of STEM, but not that kind of STEM. So STEAM, STEM, whatever.
All right. So with that, we'll wrap the show up. We are eventually going to get into iTunes. It was submitted. It was then rejected. It's been resubmitted. So we're getting the show into iTunes. Yeah, because it was miscategorized, so we'll get it right eventually.
We'll get in there.
Then we also have a Twitter account you're welcome to tweet us at. It's at iVengers. That's IVENGERS. Or you can email us, ivengers@gmail.com. Or you can even leave a voicemail or text us. I don't know how rapidly we'll respond to a text message, but we'll get to it eventually. Yes. At 512-677-5537. That is a Google voicemail account, so you know, if you are going to leave a voicemail for us, please speak clearly. John is famous for his Google voicemail messages. Transcriptions that result, he usually says the word also about 53 times per message. So try to keep the alsos down under 50 if you can. We want to let John have that honor. But again, that number one more time, 512-677-5537. Or at iVengers on Twitter is probably the quickest, easiest way to get in touch with us.
And is there a meeting going on there, Greg?
Yeah, what is going on? I mean, are they leaving voicemails that rapidly in the room? What's going on?
Well, I'm still at work, and I have a large room that I work out of, and there are other people in the room that's still conducting business. The bell rings in about 2 minutes, so
all right.
Sorry.
That's okay. So, well, that wraps it up. Lisa, thank you for joining us late. Sorry to miss the first part, and sorry you got cut out there for a little bit. Thank you, John, for starting us on the feigning kick, and Greg, thank you for the background noise and other bits of wisdom. And with that, we bring the iVengers Radio podcast number 2 to a close, hopefully in iTunes soon. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.